Ah, dear fright seekers, sometimes the scariest thing about a writer's retreat is not the deadline, but the deadlines that whisper in the night. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and ring that bell icon to unearth more tales of terror. You're about to witness the last guest of Harrowby Hall. In the waning light of an autumn afternoon, Clara Wilcox made her final approach toward Harrowby Hall, her heart a mix of anticipation and an inexplicable sense of foreboding. The drive from her bustling life in Boston to the remote corners of Maine had been long and contemplative, offering Clara ample time to consider the wisdom of her decision. She sought solitude, a retreat from the distractions of the modern world, a place where her only companions would be her thoughts and the novel that had been stubbornly resisting her attempts to bring it to life. Harrowby Hall, advertised in an obscure literary magazine as a serene haven for writers and artists, seemed like the answer to her silent pleas for inspiration. The mansion, hidden away in the dense forests of Maine, promised the quietude necessary for Clara's work. Yet, as she navigated the narrow, winding road leading to the estate, the encroaching wilderness seemed to whisper warnings. Upon arrival, the sight of the hall struck Clara with an awe that bordered on unease. The estate, an imposing structure of stone and ivy, loomed out of the fog, like a scene from a Gothic novel. Its grandeur was undeniable, yet the air of neglect that hung about it, from the untamed wildness of its gardens to the weathered face of its facade, suggested a mansion that had long been forgotten by the world. The caretaker, Mr. Hodges, was a man whose presence seemed as much a part of the hall as the stone from which it was built. His greeting, though not unfriendly, carried an undercurrent of caution, as if in letting Clara into the mansion, he was also warning her of the solitude she sought might come at a price she hadn't anticipated. Clara's initial tour of Harrowby Hall revealed a world suspended in time. The grand hall, with its sweeping staircase and portraits of long-gone residents, whispered echoes of the past. The library, a vast room lined with shelves burdened by centuries of dust, invited her with the promise of forgotten tales. Her quarters, a spacious room with views of the estate's sprawling grounds, felt surprisingly welcoming, a calm amidst the storm of her thoughts. As she settled in, unpacking her typewriter and arranging her notes, the silence of the hall enveloped her. It was in this silence that Clara found the focus she had been missing, her fingers dancing across the keys as words began to fill the pages before her. Yet, the deeper she delved into her work, the more she became aware of the hall's own story, a narrative woven into the very fabric of its walls. That first night, as Clara lay in bed, the boundary between her imagination and reality began to blur. The hall, with its creaks and sighs, seemed to breathe around her, an entity alive with stories yearning to be told. In this liminal space, Clara found herself at the threshold of a world both intriguing and intimidating, her presence in Harrowby Hall not merely as a guest, but as a key to unlocking the mysteries that lay hidden within its shadows. The decision to come to Harrowby Hall, driven by a need to escape the cacophony of her daily life, had brought Clara to a place where the whispers of the past were as real as the words she sought to write. As she drifted off to sleep, the line between the stories she wanted to tell and those that Harrowby Hall sought to reveal began to fade, setting the stage for a journey that would delve not just into the heart of her novel, but into the very soul of the hall itself. Clara's discovery of the diary, hidden within the depths of Harrowby Hall's library, marked a turning point in her stay. The diary, bound in worn leather and tinged with the scent of age, belonged to Eleanor Rigby, a name that resonated with a sense of familiarity and sorrow. As Clara turned the pages, she was drawn into Eleanor's world, one that mirrored her own initial enchantment with the hall, gradually overshadowed by an undercurrent of unease and fear. Eleanor's entries began with descriptions of Harrowby Hall's majestic solitude, the peace it offered, and the inspiration it kindled. Yet, As days turned to weeks, the tone shifted. Eleanor wrote of strange noises disrupting the silence of the night, of whispers that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, and of a chill that settled into her bones, resistant to the warmth of the fire. Clara felt a kinship with Eleanor, a fellow writer seeking solitude only to find herself ensnared in the hall's enigmatic embrace. The diary's revelation that Clara's arrival had been foretold sent a shiver down her spine. Eleanor's final entry, a dire warning to Clara to beware the heart of Harrowby Hall, felt like a message from beyond, a plea to escape the fate that had befallen its author. Yet, instead of heeding the warning, Clara found herself more determined to uncover the truth. The diary had become a bridge between the past and the present, between Clara and Eleanor, linking their fates. That night, as Clara lay in bed, the hall's haunting began in earnest. It started with a whisper of her name, so faint she thought it might have been the wind, but then came the visions, spectral images that flickered at the edge of her vision, coalescing into the figure of a woman. Eleanor, Clara was certain, roaming the corridors, her face etched with sorrow and desperation. The hauntings grew more intense with each passing night. Clara would wake to find the temperature in the room inexplicably cold, her breath visible in the air, despite the warmth of the summer night outside. Objects in her room seemed to move of their own accord, and the portraits in the hall stared at her with new intensity, as if urging her to delve deeper into the mystery. Driven by a need to understand, and perhaps to prevent her own doom, Clara began to investigate. She pored over the diary, matching Eleanor's experiences with her own, and explored the hall, seeking the source of the disturbances. Her explorations led her to hidden rooms and secret passages, revealing the hall's layered history, a palimpsest of tragedy and lost love. The more Clara discovered, the more she realized that the hauntings were not mere echoes of the past, but manifestations of a deep, unresolved grief that permeated the very stones of Harrowby Hall. Eleanor's spirit, trapped within the confines of the estate, was not malevolent but profoundly sorrowful, seeking release from her eternal wandering. As Clara delved deeper into the mystery, she uncovered the story of a tragic love affair, a betrayal, and a curse that had left Eleanor's spirit bound to the hall. The diary, once a mere curiosity, became Clara's guide, leading her to understand that the key to her salvation and Eleanor's release lay in uncovering the truth and righting the wrongs of the past. Through her journey into the heart of Harrowby Hall's darkness, Clara confronted not only the supernatural forces at play, but also her own fears and doubts. The hall, with its haunting beauty and tragic history, became a mirror reflecting Clara's inner turmoil, challenging her to face the depths of her own soul. Beneath the ancient oak that stood sentinel at the heart of Harrowby Hall's overgrown gardens, Clara found herself digging into the earth with a fervor that bordered on desperation. The diary's cryptic clues had led her here, to a spot marked by a stone half swallowed by the ground, its inscription worn away by time and weather. The locket, when her fingers finally brushed against its cold metal, felt like a key turning in a lock long rusted shut. The gold of the locket was tarnished, its once shiny surface dulled by years beneath the earth, but the portrait inside was miraculously preserved. A woman, her features elegant yet somber, gazed back at Clara with a haunting familiarity. This was no mere trinket, but a relic of love and loss, a tangible echo of the heartache that pervaded Harrowby Hall. Armed with the locket and a resolve that had been fortified by her journey through the mansion's secrets, Clara ventured into the nearby village as the sky began to bruise with the colors of dusk. The villagers, isolated from the world by choice and geography, regarded her with a mix of curiosity and wariness. Whispers followed her like shadows as she made inquiries, her questions painting her as an outsider, meddling in affairs best left undisturbed. It was in the village's quaint inn, a place that seemed to straddle the line between the past and the present, that Clara encountered Abigail, The young woman, with her striking resemblance to the portrait in the locket, was a living bridge to the mystery Clara sought to unravel. The initial skepticism in Abigail's eyes gave way to intrigue and then to a dawning realization as Clara shared the story of the locket, Eleanor's haunting, and the curse that seemed to tie their fates together. The exchange of the locket was a moment charged with an energy that transcended the simple passing of an heirloom. For Abigail, it was a piece of her heritage returned, a connection to ancestors she had never known but felt in her bones. For Clara, it was the culmination of her quest, a step toward untangling the web of sorrow that enshrouded Harrowby Hall. The journey back to the mansion, Locket no longer in her possession, was under a sky now heavy with the threat of a storm. Lightning forked over the horizon, a visual echo of the turmoil that had raged within Clara since her arrival. Yet, as she approached Harrowby Hall, the storm seemed to hesitate, as if the mansion itself held sway over the elements. That night, as Clara lay in her bed, the mansion around her was transformed. The oppressive atmosphere, the sense of being watched, the whispers and chills, all had dissipated like mist under the morning sun. In their place was a peace that permeated the very stones of Harrowby Hall, a stillness that spoke of resolutions and farewells. Clara understood then that her journey was not just about uncovering the mysteries of Harrowby Hall, or even about aiding the restless spirits that dwelled within its walls. It was about healing, about breaking a cycle of grief and loss that had held sway over the mansion for generations. The locket and the love it symbolized was the key to that healing, a beacon that guided the lost souls home. As dawn broke over Harrowby Hall, Clara watched the sunrise paint the sky in hues of gold and pink. The mansion, for so long a prison of the past, now stood as a testament to the power of understanding, forgiveness, and the enduring strength of the human heart. Clara's journey had led her to confront ghosts, both literal and metaphorical. But in doing so, she had freed not just Eleanor and her family from their earthly ties, but also herself from the chains of doubt and fear that had bound her creativity. In the quiet of the morning, with the manuscript of her novel lying completed on the desk before her, Clara knew that Harrowby Hall would forever be a part of her story, a chapter in her life where she had discovered not just the depth of her own courage, but the true essence of her art. In her final days at Harrowby Hall, Clara's world was transformed. The haunting ceased, replaced by a profound peace that infused her writing with newfound depth and emotion. The novel she had envisioned was no longer the story she penned. It had evolved into a tale of resolution, memory, and the power of moving on. As she prepared to leave, Clara felt a deep connection to the hall, now serene and free of its spectral burdens. Departing Harrowby Hall, Clara carried with her not just a completed manuscript, but a profound change within herself, forever altered by her experiences. As the echoes of Clara's footsteps fade into the halls of history, ponder what shadows linger in your own corridors. Share with us in the comments if a whisper from the past has ever changed your future. Keep watching, for the next story might just be the key to unlock your own haunted hallways. Fright fans, click next for more chills and hit subscribe to join our ghastly gang. You see, who dares to miss out, so watch our next video.